your daughter can take this document and can go to the bank, can go to the real estate office, can go to the stockbrokers and say, this is my parents' living trust, here's their names, here's their death certificate, here's my name, here's my driver's license. They'll look at all this stuff and they'll say, okay, what is it you'd like to do? Why is that? That's because this document has legal muscle. Does it work? Okay. I'm not an attorney. I'm a paralegal. In this state, we're also officially called legal document assistants. I was trained by a great guy in Sacramento named Mel Harris. He's now passed on. He was a great guy. Mel's mother lived in Idaho. And one day they were talking on the phone, and she said, oh, by the way, Mel, I went to see an attorney last week, and I had a will drawn up. And I named you as executor. I hope that's okay. And he said, oh, sure, Ma. I'd be glad to take care of that for you. But we have something that we think is a little bit better. And if it's okay with you, next time we get together, I'll explain to you what we do. And if you agree, I'll work up some paperwork for you. And she said, okay, Mel, whatever you think is best. So the next time they got together, he drew up a living trust for her. Okay, and a couple of years later, she died, and Mel gets this letter in the mail from Moss and Esplin, Blackfoot, Idaho, October 17th, 1990, regarding the will of Annie R. Harris. Dear Mr. Harris, on February the 8th, 1988, your mother, Annie R. Harris, executed a last will and testament at my office. I am not aware of any other will that supersedes this one. In the will, which we prepared for her, you were named as personal representative, and she gave very specific instructions as to the disposition of her estate. To date, I have not been contacted by any member of the family, and I was not sure whether you were aware of the existence of this will. Would you please contact me at your earliest convenience and let me know if there's anything you need our firm to do so that your mother's estate can be properly probated. What's he after? Fees, that's right, money. He wants money. This is Mel's response. October 22nd. Dear Mr. Moss, thank you for your letter of October 17th, 1990. Please be informed that my mother executed another last will and testament in connection with a revocable living trust on April the 18th, 1988, which supersedes the will which you executed for her on February the 9th, 1988. In the will, which was prepared for her by our office, she put everything she owned into a revocable living trust, naming herself as trustee and myself as the successor trustee. She gave very specific instructions as to the disposition of her estate in the trust. She passed away on October the 1st, 1990, and her estate has already been distributed according to her wishes. There was no need for any member of the family to contact your office, and it is not necessary to probate her estate. Notice here, she died on October the 1st, and here it is, 3 weeks later. No court, no judge, no attorney, no fees, no delay. So far today, what we've covered is what happens when you die. That's what we've been talking about. The question is, what happens if you don't die? You see, there are three ways to get to probate court. The first way is if you die, if you're dead, and you've made no plans to avoid probate. The second way is if you're a little kid and something happens to your parents, and every once in a while you'll read about this, where there's a car crash or plane crash or something, and both mom and dad are wiped out. Okay, when that happens, the instant that happened, the kid became an orphan and became a ward of the court. Now the king, the judge, is busy, doesn't have time to take care of this kid, so he appoints a guardian to take care of the kid. You know, where he's going to live and what kind of clothes he's going to wear and get to school and stuff like that. That's this person's job. He also appoints somebody to take care of the money, called a conservator. So what that means is that kid, if he wants anything and he can't get it through the guardian's not doing it for him, or the conservator isn't giving him the money for it, he has to go back to the judge and plead with the judge to tell these people what to do, because they're going to follow the judge's orders. So if the kid's 4 years old, he's got 14 years ahead of him, dealing with all these adults, just trying to get a new pair of shoes. You know, you're completely under the control of other people. Now, when you're an adult like us, and something happens to us, if we haven't made plans to avoid probate, and something happens to us, we end up as wards of the court. And there's a guardian appointed to take care of us, and to what kind of clothes we're going to wear, what kind of room we're going to have, everything about us, and is also going to appoint a conservator to take over everything you have, your checkbook, your investment funds, your house, everything is going to be decided by that conservator. So all the control you had, all your maturity, all the decisions you've made over the years, how you think and all that kind of stuff, doesn't mean squat anymore, because it's now their decisions. Between the judge and the conservator, they decide, and sometimes they could give a whit about you. Okay, you're completely out of control. Now, what does that look like? Okay, here's a case in Redwood City, just down the road here, and involves a gal named Mary June Shipstead. I have no idea who she is. Remember, everything is public records. When you go to court, it's all public records. And so you can just go down to the courthouse and get this. And this we see is a report of the conservator. We also see that this is the 6th accounting. So this isn't the first 1 or 2 where they're doing extra work and it's set up. No, this has been set up, and this is chucking right along. Okay, so let's see what this looks like. It's page 2 here. Okay, ordinary fees, $3,843.21. Extraordinary fees, $2,707.88. Ordinary fees of $1,708.09. Here's cost of $36.31. Here's another $972.90. Another $1,200. And on page 3, we have another $435. That adds up to $10,000. And it's the 6th time. It's the 6th time he's been there. Look at this poor guy here. This guy has been here for it's his 31st accounting. He's been in there for decades. I have a good friend of mine whose mother went Lulu Tunes in 1952. She died in 2007. For over 50 years, she was going through this. Whew. Now, how often does this happen? Every courtroom all across the country has somewhere out in the hallway a thing called a docket. That's a list of activities that are going to take place in that courtroom that day. So let's see what those look like. My office is in Belmont, pretty close to Redwood City, so I slip down there once in a while and borrow their dockets when they're done with them, okay? And so this one is July the 18th, and we see this first one here is the state probate of a will. Now we know 2 things, okay? One, this person's dead, and the other thing we know is didn't make plans to avoid it because they're in probate. Second one, same way, dead, didn't make plans. Third one, conservatorship. We know 2 things. This person is alive but didn't make plans to avoid it. So this is what we're counting. These people are alive. So this is 1. Here's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 out of 21 cases. Let's do one more. Here's another one, and this is January the 25th. Dead, made no plans. Down here, conservatorship. Alive, made no plans. That's 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out of 15. You get the idea? More or less half of the people that are in probate court are dead. They're alive. And I don't care how out of it you are. You've got to be aware that everything you've saved for your whole life is just flowing out of your hands like sand out of an open palm, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's too late. You didn't make plans. Any questions? Now, for you folks that are watching the DVD, I have no idea what they're going to ask, and this will be a little bonus section. You'll have to watch it and find out. Okay? Well, in the beginning, I said we go through when I sit down with folks, we go through a 4-step process. The first step is where we talk about the history of the court system, how it works and why it works that way, the whole history behind it. And again, we showed you court documents, and you could now see, I see what's going on. Okay. The next thing is that when I sit down with them, I go through and I show them our documents, explain why each one is important in avoiding the grill in the room, probate. The third thing I do then is I ask about assets, not because I want to know how much you have, but rather how much time it's going to take for us to put together your documents. And then the last thing I do is I gather, then if you say, yes, fits our budget, we want to go ahead, then we'll go into the 4th step, which is where I start gathering information from folks to be able to put together their documents. And of course, we've done the first one. We got a big one out of the way. You now have a great education that, as far as I know, you can't get anyplace else. And that's it. I thank you very, very much for coming today. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.